Something happened last month that I can't explain in a way that makes me feel any better about it. I've tried to convince myself it's all coincidence, that I'm connecting dots that aren't there. But when I line everything up, starting from years ago, I can't shake the feeling that something has been wrong for a long time. I'm 24 now. I moved back home after finishing grad school to save money while I look for full-time work. My parents still live in the same house I grew up in, a 2-story place in a quiet, upper-middle-class neighborhood outside a mid-sized city. It's the kind of street where everyone mows their lawn on Saturdays and leaves their garage doors open during the day. My bedroom is on the 2nd floor, at the front of the house. The window faces the street directly. If I sit at my desk, I can see straight down to the sidewalk and across to the houses opposite us. My parents' room is at the back, and my dad's small home office is upstairs too, with a single narrow window that also faces the street. That detail matters more than I used to think. It was my dad who noticed the first thing. I was probably 13 or 14 at the time, old enough to remember it clearly, but not old enough to take it seriously. One Saturday morning, I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. My dad sounded irritated more than scared. He said, "It happened again." When I asked what he meant, they brushed it off. My older sister eventually told me the full story later that week. My dad had been up late working. He's an accountant, and during tax season he'll stay at his desk until 2 or 3 in the morning. Around midnight, he noticed a dark SUV driving extremely slowly down our street. Not just cautious slow, idle slow, like someone easing their foot off the brake without touching the gas. It passed our house, kept going, then came back about 5 minutes later. The second time, it paused directly across from our driveway. It didn't park fully. It just idled there. My dad watched from his office window for several minutes, expecting someone to get out. No one did. Eventually, it drove off. A few nights later, the same thing happened. Same type of vehicle. Same slow pass. Same pause. He considered calling the police, but decided against it. There wasn't anything concrete to report. No one approached the house. No one tried the door handles. It was just odd. After a week or two, it stopped. Life went back to normal. We joked about the world's slowest driver. It became one of those strange neighborhood things you half remember and forget. 4 years later, I was 18 and about to graduate high school. I used to stay up late, gaming at my desk, headphones on, window cracked slightly for air. One night, sometime after 1 a.m., I noticed a flicker of light moving across my ceiling. At first I assumed it was a passing car's headlights, but it didn't move the way headlights do. It wasn't sweeping across from left to right. It was jittering, stopping, adjusting. I pulled off my headphones and turned toward the window. There were 3 cars moving slowly down the street in a loose line. All of them are dark-colored sedans. The one in front had someone leaning slightly out of the passenger side window. They were shining a flashlight into houses, not wildly, not randomly. Controlled, methodical. The beam moved from window to window. It lingered on some longer than others. I watched it slide across my neighbor's facade, pausing at the front door, then climbing up to the 2nd-story windows. When the beam started moving toward our house, I instinctively ducked below my desk. I don't know why I did that. It wasn't a conscious decision. I just didn't want whoever was holding that light to see me standing there watching. The beam hit my window. It washed across my ceiling for 2 full seconds. Then it moved on. I stayed crouched for a while after the cars rolled past. The next morning, my parents took it seriously. My dad installed motion lights along the front and side of the house. We got a doorbell camera. He mentioned it casually to a couple neighbors, and one of them said they'd noticed slow drivers late at night too. Nothing else happened for a long time, until the backyard incident. I was 20. My parents had hired a landscaping company to redo part of the fence line. While clearing out some overgrown shrubs along the back corner, one of the workers called my dad over. They'd found a small device tucked deep inside one of the bushes. It was a camera, no bigger than a car key fob, black, lightweight. The battery was dead. There was no SD card inside. It didn't look like something that would stream over Wi-Fi, at least not obviously, but it had a small lens and a tiny mounting clip. It had been positioned facing toward our back patio. We tried to figure out how long it had been there. The bush had grown thick around it, so it hadn't been placed recently. But there was no obvious way to tell whether it had been there for months or years. My dad filed a police report. An officer came out, took the device, and asked routine questions. He didn't seem alarmed. It could be kids messing around, he said. Could have been dropped. But it hadn't been dropped. It had been deliberately wedged into the interior of a shrub, angled carefully. We never heard anything else about it. A year after that, our next-door neighbors moved away. The house sold quickly. A couple in their early 30s moved in. No kids. That wasn't unusual, just noticeable given the size of the house. They kept mostly to themselves. Polite, but distant. A few months after they moved in, I started noticing something. From my bedroom window, I could see part of their second floor through a narrow angle. Late at night, midnight, sometimes later, I'd see someone standing at their window. Not sitting, not walking by, standing, facing outwardly. It wasn't constant. Maybe once every couple weeks, but always still, always looking out. The first few times, I assumed they were on the phone or just thinking, but eventually I realized the angle of their window lined up directly with our backyard. One evening, while walking our dog, I glanced through their front bay window as I passed. They were sitting at their kitchen table with a third person I hadn't seen before. He stood out immediately, completely bald, broad shoulders, thick eyebrows that almost met in the middle. Mid-40s maybe? He had a very still presence, the kind of person who doesn't fidget. The three of them were talking quietly. As I walked past, the woman stood up and pulled the curtains closed. Not abruptly, not panicking, just deliberate. She didn't look at me while she did it, but the timing felt precise. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't want to sound paranoid. Last month, we took a family trip to Barcelona. It was the first vacation we'd taken together in years. On the second night, we were at a small bar near our hotel. Nothing fancy, just tapas and drinks. I was halfway through a beer when I looked across the room. The bald man was sitting alone at the bar. Same build, same eyebrows, same still posture. I stared longer than I meant to. He turned slightly. Our eyes met. There was no expression on his face, no recognition, at least not visible, but he held eye contact for a second too long. Then he set down his glass, left cash on the counter, and walked out. I didn't follow him immediately. I told myself it wasn't him. It couldn't be. Barcelona is a massive city, millions of visitors. But 2 days later, we were touring La Sagrada Familia. As we exited onto the plaza, I saw him again, standing about 40 feet away, camera in hand. He appeared to be photographing the basilica. That wouldn't have been strange. Everyone was. But his camera was angled slightly lower, toward us. I'm not saying he was taking pictures of my family. I can't prove that. But when I shifted to the side, his lens shifted too. And then he lowered the camera. He looked directly at me. Not surprised, not confused, just steady. Then he turned and disappeared into the crowd. I told my parents that afternoon. Everything. The neighbors. The bar. The plaza. My dad didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss it. He went quiet. He asked me to describe the man carefully. When I mentioned the eyebrows, something in his expression changed. He said the driver of the SUV years ago, on the one night he'd gotten a partial glimpse through the windshield, had been bald. We considered cutting the trip short. We didn't, but the rest of the vacation felt muted, controlled. My dad checked behind us more often. My mom stopped posting photos in real time. When we got home, my dad pulled every scrap of security footage stored in our system. He went back weeks, then months. Nothing. No bald man. No lingering vehicles. The neighbors still live next door. I haven't seen the man there again. Sometimes I wonder if I built a narrative out of random fragments. A slow car, a flashlight, a discarded device, a stranger in a foreign city, all explainable on their own. But together, they sit differently. I still sit at my desk at night sometimes. I still look out the window, and every once in a while I catch myself scanning the street, half expecting a vehicle to roll slowly past. So far, nothing has. That almost makes it worse. I went out that night because I couldn't sit in my apartment any longer. I'd gotten off a late shift around 9:30, and the place felt smaller than usual. It had been a long week, nothing dramatic, just the kind that leaves you wired and restless. So I did what I usually do when I need to clear my head. I drove out to the old service road that runs along the edge of the quarry outside town, and planned to walk it for an hour or so. I'd been going there for years. It's technically closed to vehicles past a certain point, but locals still park near the rusted gate and walk the gravel road. It loops around the quarry and connects to a stretch of wooded trail before circling back. I know every bend in that road. I know where the ground dips, where the loose stones are, where the fence is half collapsed near the south end. I've done that walk-in every season. It was cool but not cold. Late fall, no wind. The sky was clear enough that I didn't need a flashlight at first. I left my car just before 10 o'clock p.m., locked it, and put one earbud in. Low volume, just background noise. I wasn't expecting to see anyone. I rarely do that late. The first 20 minutes were normal. The crunch of gravel under my boots, the faint hum of distant highway traffic, the quarry water sitting still and black to my right. I remember thinking I felt better already. My breathing evened out. My thoughts slowed down. The first thing that caught my attention was a smell. It was faint, but it didn't belong there. Sweet, almost like cologne, not strong, just enough to cut through the cold air. I slowed down without meaning to. The quarry usually smells like wet stone and dirt, sometimes algae in the warmer months. Not that. I stopped and took another breath. Nothing. Just damp gravel and leaves. I figured maybe someone had walked ahead of me earlier and the scent lingered. Or maybe it was just something from my car, air freshener clinging to my jacket. It didn't feel important. I kept walking. A few minutes later, I heard something behind me. Not loud, just a quick scuff of gravel. I turned around immediately. The road behind me stretched empty toward the gate. No headlights. No movement. I pulled my earbud out. That was probably it, I told myself. With music in, even low, your brain fills in gaps. Echoes bounce strangely around the quarry walls. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds. Nothing else happened. So I kept going, earbuds out this time. About 10 minutes later, the smell came back, stronger. It hit me as I rounded the bend near the broken fence. Same sweet scent. This time it lingered. It wasn't drifting. It felt concentrated, like I had stepped into it. I scanned the fence line, half expecting to see someone standing there. It's a chain link with patches of brush growing through it. You'd have to try pretty hard to hide along that stretch. There was no one. The smell faded again, slowly this time, instead of disappearing all at once. That's when I started feeling watched. I don't mean in a dramatic way, just that subtle awareness you get when something shifts and you can't name it. The air felt heavier, too quiet. Even the distant traffic noise seemed dulled. I told myself I was overthinking it. It was late. My nerves were probably still up from work. The human brain loves patterns, even when there aren't any. I kept walking. When I reached the halfway point where the gravel road meets the wooded trail, I saw something that made me stop completely. There was a light moving through the trees, not at ground level, higher. At first I thought it was someone with a flashlight on the ridge above the quarry. But there isn't a path up there. It's steep, loose rock, and thorn brush. I've looked at it in daylight and thought about climbing it once. It would be miserable, even during the day. The light flicked on, swept slowly left to right, then clicked off. I stood still. A few seconds later, it came on again. Same motion, Slow sweep. Off. If someone was up there, they would have had to bushwhack through terrain that most people avoid entirely. And at night? I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a security vehicle on the far side, and the angle made it look elevated. Maybe someone spotlighting for deer, even though that would be illegal here. The beam came on a third time, closer to where I stood. That's when I realized how exposed I was. Open gravel road, nowhere to hide. If someone up there wanted to watch me, they could. I turned around and started heading back toward my car. Not fast, just deliberate. That's when I heard it clearly. Footsteps. Behind me, not the echo of my own steps. These were staggered, slightly off rhythm. Crunch, pause, crunch. I stopped. They stopped. The silence that followed felt unnatural. No wind, no insects, just stillness. I stayed frozen, listening so hard it made my ears ring. Then, suddenly, rapid footsteps, charging, gravel spraying, fast, directly toward me. I didn't think so. I spun around, bracing myself. My heart felt like it slammed into my throat. I remember clenching my fists, trying to make myself look bigger, like that would help. The footsteps stopped abruptly, mid-stride. Nothing stood in front of me. No shape in the dark, no movement, just the empty road and the faint outline of trees. I could hear my own breathing, sharp and loud. I tried to listen past it. Nothing. Whoever or whatever had been running at me was now completely silent. That was the worst part. If someone had kept coming, at least it would have made sense. But to charge full speed and then stop without a sound? It felt intentional. Controlled. I didn't want to move, but I had to get back to my car, and the only way was forward, toward where the footsteps had come from. I started walking again, slowly. Every few steps, I thought I heard something matching me from behind. Not constant, just enough to keep me from relaxing. A soft crunch that wasn't mine. A shift in the brush. I kept turning around. Every time, there was nothing there. The quarry walls made everything hard to place. The sound bounced strangely. I tried to convince myself that's all it was. Echo distortion. But it didn't explain the charging. I was maybe a mile from my car when something crashed violently through the brush to my left. Not a small animal. It was heavy. Branches snapping. Gravel scattering. I flinched so hard my vision blurred for a second. I shouted without meaning to. Just a reflex. The crashing stopped instantly. Silence again. I didn't wait this time. I ran. I've never run that stretch before. It's uneven and easy to twist an ankle, but I didn't care. My breath came in sharp pulls. My chest burned. Every few seconds I thought I heard something keeping pace behind me, just out of sight. I didn't look back again. I was too afraid that if I did, I'd actually see someone, or something. About halfway back, I heard it again. Loud, unmistakable pursuit. Gravel exploding under weight. Brush tearing. It didn't echo this time. It was a movement. I pushed harder. My legs felt unstable, like they weren't connected to the ground properly. I stumbled once and barely caught myself. The idea of falling out there, even for a second, made panic spike through me so sharply I almost blacked out. I could see the faint reflection of my car's rear window ahead. That tiny shape felt like the only solid thing in the world. The noise behind me continued, erratic, but closing. I reached the gate, yanked my keys from my pocket, and nearly dropped them. My hands were shaking so badly it took 2 tries to unlock the door. I threw myself inside, slammed it shut, and locked it immediately. The crashing stopped. Just like that. I sat there with the engine off for several seconds, staring through the windshield into the darkness. My breath fogged the glass. I expected to see a silhouette step into the headlights at any moment. Nothing did. When I finally started the car and turned the headlights on, the road behind me was empty. Completely empty. I didn't drive away right away. I don't know why. I just sat there, scanning the mirrors, waiting. There was no movement. No figure emerging from the trees. No light on the ridge. just the quiet gate and the dark stretch of gravel I'd just run down. I drove home shaking. I haven't gone back there at night since. For a few months, I didn't go back at all. Even during the day, I catch myself glancing toward the ridge. I still don't know what happened. Maybe it was a person messing with me. Maybe someone had been up there illegally and didn't want to be seen. Maybe I startled wildlife and my brain filled in the rest. All I know is I've walked that road dozens of times, and it's never felt like that before. And I can't shake the feeling that whatever charged at me that night made a deliberate choice to stop right before I could see it. That's the part one think about the most. This happened when I was 19, and I still think about it more often than I probably should, not in a dramatic, can't sleep at night way. It's quieter than that. It just sort of lingers. Every now and then something small will remind me of it, a certain smell, the sound of pipes knocking in an old building, and I'll feel that same tightness in my chest. I've told this story to maybe 3 people in my life. Every time I do, I feel like I'm leaving something out, even though I'm not sure what that something is. I don't think what I experienced was supernatural. I really don't. But I also don't think I was imagining it. And that's the part that's never sat right with me. Back then, my family was in a rough spot financially. My dad had been laid off from his job at a manufacturing plant, and my mom was working double shifts at a nursing home to keep us afloat. I'd just finished my first year at community college, but I had to put school on hold to help out. That summer, my uncle offered me a temporary job doing maintenance at a small lakeside motel he managed in northern Wisconsin. It came with free lodging in one of the unused rooms. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady work, and I needed it. My uncle and I weren't especially close, but he'd always been practical and straightforward. He told me the motel was older, built sometime in the late 50s, and needed constant upkeep. He made it clear that I'd mostly be on my own during the night shifts, since he handled the daytime operations. At the time, I didn't think much about staying alone. I was 19. I wanted independence. The idea of having my own room by a lake for the summer sounded almost peaceful. The motel itself sat off a 2-lane highway, surrounded by tall pine trees that blocked most of the road noise. It was shaped like a wide U, with all the room doors facing inward toward a cracked asphalt parking lot. The paint on the exterior had faded to a dull beige, and the neon sign out front flickered slightly even during the day. My room was at the far end of the left wing, right next to a storage unit that used to be a laundry room. Inside, everything felt outdated but clean. Brown floral bedspread, a heavy wooden dresser that smelled faintly like varnish. The air conditioner rattled when it ran, and the pipes in the walls made soft ticking sounds after someone showered. At night, when most of the guests were asleep, the whole place felt suspended in time. The hum of the soda machine outside the office carried farther than you'd expect. The lake, which was only a few hundred yards behind the building, would occasionally send up a cool breeze that rustled the pine needles in a way that almost sounded like whispering. The first thing I noticed was the sound. Around my 3rd night there, after finishing up some minor repairs, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I heard footsteps outside my room. Not unusual in a motel. Guests came and went, but it was close to 2 a.m., and I knew for a fact we only had 3 occupied rooms that night, all in the opposite wing. The steps were slow and deliberate, gravel crunching lightly. They moved past my door, then stopped. I remember holding my breath, waiting for a knock or the jingle of keys. Nothing happened. After about 30 seconds, the steps continued, fading toward the storage unit wall. I told myself it was probably just someone from one of the rooms stepping out for a smoke. But it happened again the next night. Same time, same pace, passing my door, pausing, then moving on. By the 4th night, I decided to check. When I heard the steps approach, I stood quietly beside the door and waited. As soon as they paused, I pulled it open. The parking lot was empty. No car headlights, no cigarette glow, No one walked away, just the dull orange light from the lamp near the office and the sound of insects humming in the trees. I even stepped out and looked in both directions. The asphalt was still, the gravel undisturbed. The next morning, I mentioned it casually to my uncle while we were replacing a broken sink fixture in room 6. "Probably guests," he said without looking at me. "They weren't in this wing," I told him. "And it was the same time every night." He shrugged. "Sound travels weird out here. Pine trees, lake air. You'd be surprised." He didn't ask follow-up questions. He didn't seem concerned, but he also didn't really meet my eyes when I was talking. I tried to let it go. Old building, night shift brain. It's easy to psych yourself out when you're alone. Then I started noticing the storage unit door. It was an old metal door with a sliding bolt. Supposedly it hadn't been used in years. My uncle kept random spare furniture there. He'd shown it to me my first week. One evening, as I walked past it on my way to my room, I noticed the bolt was slightly misaligned, like it had been slid open and then pushed back carelessly. I told myself I was misremembering how it usually looked, but the next morning, I checked again. The bolt was fully in place. That night, after the footsteps passed my door and faded out, I waited about 5 minutes and then stepped outside. The storage unit bolt was hanging halfway open. I just stared at it. I didn't hear a door creak. I didn't hear movement, but the metal was cold under my fingers, like it had been touched recently. I didn't open it. The next day, I brought it up again. "Hey, has anyone been in the old laundry room?" I asked. "No," my uncle said immediately. "The bolt was open last night." He wiped his hands on a rag and gave me a look I couldn't quite read. Probably didn't slide it all the way. I didn't touch it. He paused, then said, "Look, it's an old place. Stuff shifts. Wind catches things. There wasn't any wind." He sighed, not angry, just tired. "You're alone out here a lot. Don't let your head make problems where there aren't any." That was the end of it. The night that still sticks with me happened about 2 weeks later. It was humid, the kind of sticky heat that makes everything feel closer. Around 1:50 a.m., I was half asleep when I heard the now familiar crunch of footsteps. Slow, steady, coming down the wing. This time, instead of stopping at my door, they kept going. Toward the storage unit, I sat up, listening. I heard what sounded like the faint scrape of metal. Then, a soft thud, like something being set down inside a hollow space. My heart was pounding, but not in a movie way. It was more confusion than fear. I told myself this was it. This was the moment I'd finally see who it was. I stepped out into the hallway barefoot. The air felt heavy. The parking lot was empty again, but the storage unit door was slightly ajar. Not wide open, just enough to show a sliver of darkness inside. I stood there longer than I'd like to admit. Part of me wanted to yank it open and just end the mystery. But another part of me, a very quiet, instinctual part, told me not to. Instead, I slowly backed up into my room and locked the door. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I told my uncle everything. Not accusingly, just plainly. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he rubbed his jaw and said, "You're not going in that room again. Leave it alone." "Why?" I asked. "It's old wiring, old plumbing. You don't need to mess with it." "That's not what I'm asking." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something in his expression shifted. Not fear, not anger, just resignation. "Some things," he said carefully, "are better left alone." That was it. 2 days later, he told me business was slowing down and he didn't need me for the rest of the summer. The timing felt deliberate, but I didn't argue. I went home. When I tried to tell my mom about it, she cut me off halfway through. "You were working nights," she said. "You were stressed. Don't turn it into something bigger. But let it go." The way she said it wasn't dismissive. It was protective. We didn't talk about it again, but something about the way both of them reacted, like there was a shared understanding I wasn't part of, stuck with me. Years later, at a family barbecue, I overheard my cousin mention that the motel had been sold not long after that summer. Apparently there had been liability issues. That's the phrase she used. When I pressed her, she shrugged and said there'd been rumors back in the early 2000s about someone living out of one of the storage units without management knowing. A drifter, someone who'd broken in and stayed for weeks before being discovered. No one was hurt, she said quickly. At least I don't think so. I asked my uncle about it once, years after that. He just said, old buildings attract old problems. I don't believe in ghosts. I never have. I think there are explanations for everything. Acoustics, exhaustion, maybe even someone accessing that storage room from another entrance I didn't know about. Maybe my uncle knew someone was using it and didn't want to involve me. Maybe the footsteps were exactly what they sounded like. A person. But what I can't shake is the timing. The pauses outside my door. The way the bolt shifted only at night. And the look on my uncle's face when I finally told him everything. I don't think it was supernatural. I just think I was closer to something than I realized. And sometimes, that's worse. Some questions don't stay buried. They just wait quietly for you to remember them.